Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and welcome to my channel Kalanati. Today I have a question that's been percolating in the back of my mind for some time, probably since I started my own booktube channel, which is about what you read that you don't talk about. If you have a booktube channel, if you count things on Goodreads, if you review things, if you have a blog where you talk about the stuff that you read, there are these things that you read that you just don't talk about. You exclude them for some reason. And I want to know the types of things that people read but they don't talk about and why. So let me give you some examples about me. I read a bunch of different things and I've been trying to diversify the lengths and formats and also genres of things that I read. So I used to exclusively read fiction novels, and then I started, for school, reading more nonfiction and professional development stuff for my career, and a lot of that was article-length stuff. That's pretty much what my degree programs were. There are not a lot of just sit down and read them type books in tech comm or content strategy or technical editing. You have textbooks and you have journal articles and magazine articles, and so I read a ton of that in university. And then when I started getting back into reading for fun after university, I just went straight back to novel-length stuff. I would read some nonfiction stuff, and then I thought, I want to read more types of stuff. I started branching out of just science fiction and fantasy, got back into reading mysteries. I tried to read more nonfiction. I tried reading classics and Shakespeare plays, and then I started wanting to read short fiction. And when I started my booktube channel, it never occurred to me that I wouldn't talk about some of these things until I started reading stuff for my job and for my personal interests in my career. And initially I just went, I'm not going to talk about that. I might not even put it on Goodreads. I'm not going to review it. And then I thought, why not? I really like the idea of talking about every single thing that I read, especially talking about short fiction, which not that many people talk about on BookTube, but also there might someday be that viewer who stumbles across me talking about a content strategy book and goes, oh yeah, I've read that too, and they'll be soulmates or something because we both read this really, really rare book. But I do know that a lot of people who create videos on BookTube or who review things if they're not content creators on YouTube, they just exclude certain things. I've heard of people who don't record or talk about the comics or graphic novels that they read. Some people don't talk about the audiobooks. They don't count the audiobooks that they listen to. And of course there's the whole short fiction thing, which is really hard to keep track of on Goodreads sometimes unless you count the entire magazine it was published in, and that's kind of my problem right now. But not that many people talk about them, and I want to know why. I'm sure there are other things that people read that they don't talk about. Some other things that I thought people probably wouldn't talk about are things like required reading for school. I think a lot of people who are at university for things like English or literature degrees where you read a lot of novels and a lot of classic literature from the canon, you might count that. But all the other stuff you have to read too. If you are researching something, for work or for school, do you count the books that you read for research? And then outside of just, genre and fiction, nonfiction, I think there's also the length of what you're reading. For example, short fiction, I think people just don't count it because it's not long enough. They're not going to count it towards their Goodreads reading goal because maybe they don't feel it's substantial enough. That's what I do. I used to try to count novellas, but then I was just like, if it's not over 100 pages, I feel weird about counting it because it's not comparable to the 500-page novel I read. It's just very, very different. And so I wonder if that's why people don't count some things like trade comics. I can understand why you wouldn't count single issues of comics, but some people don't count the trades that are often over 100 pages. So tell me what you guys think. What do you read that you don't keep track of, that you don't review, that you don't include in your videos or in your wrap-ups, and tell me why. I look forward to what you guys all have to say, and I will talk at you again in my next video. Bye.